Episode 27. I can't do that on fingers. Sorry. Of Trev's Hockey Show here on Trev TV. That kind of night. I'm a Trev. Y'all know that. If you're watching, thanks for tuning in. Glad you did. This is my first hockey video in a while. And it's more or less just by design. Not so much by design, but just kind of happened that way. Life comes up, you gotta deal with things. It happens. But anyway, this is me reviewing my predictions from the divisions. If you remember at the beginning of the season, or just before the beginning of the season, I pumped out 4 videos. I'm not going to do 4 videos to cover my predictions. I'm going to do that all in one video. And I studied those videos back over again, more or less just so I caught everything that I kind of predicted in that video on the piece of paper right in front of me. Notes. Came with notes this time. Look at me, all prepared. So, if you want to hang on to your hats, find a seat, grab a drink. Maybe if you got the munchies, get some munchies. We're going to be here while going over my predictions. Before I get into the divisions though, I'm going to cover a few minor predictions that I kind of threw out there in those 4 videos. One, Ottawa did not go 0-82. They actually won some games. I don't know exactly how many. I didn't bother writing down stats. I should have, but I didn't. But they did finish last. So Colorado has a very good shot at number 1 overall. Now, if anybody forgets that, and a lot of people I talk to do, Colorado is owed Ottawa's number 1 pick in the draft. Well, not the number 1, but their first rounder. In a trade for some kid named Matt Duchene. So, Colorado's chances for number 1 are pretty damn good. On the note of Colorado, I predicted McKinnon would hit 100 points. He was 1 point short. So was Johnny Gaudreau. Steve Stamkos was 2 points short. That's 3 guys who almost hit 100 on top of the 6 who did. I didn't find anything where I said how many 100-point scorers there would be, but there were 6. Kucherov finished the league in the lead with 128. So the Art Ross is going to Tampa along with the President's Trophy, but we'll get into that one later. McDavid had 116. Patrick Kane had 110. Leon Draisaitl, good old German efficiency, had 105. Marchand and Stamkos, or Marchand and Crosby, sorry, had 100 each. I think the last time there was this many 100-point scorers was 06-07, maybe 05-06. And this many guys who were close, like, I only named 3. I think there was about 17-18 that could have hit 100 if they were playing a couple more games. So it was a productive year. As far as like 50 goal scorers, you had 2, Ovechkin and Draisaitl. I mean, Ovechkin's a constant. Of course he's going to lead the league in goals. I mean, he's chasing a record. Why wouldn't he, right? But those were some of the small predictions I made. I did kind of touch up on who I thought would finish 1 and 2. And in this one, I kind of took it a step further and gave you 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I predicted the bottom 4 as well. So with that, let's get into my division picks. So starting off with the Atlantic, my predictions went something like this. Tampa was going to win the division and be 2nd overall, followed by Toronto, followed by Boston. Florida was going to get a wild card. My toss-ups began here. Detroit, Buffalo, Montreal, and then Ottawa was going to finish dead last, league-wide. The only things that actually really did happen there was 1 and 8. Tampa clinched the division and the President's Trophy. So they finished the league with the best record and tied the mark for wins in a season with 62, which is held by Detroit. If you remember back in, I think it was 96, 97, they had 62 wins. So that's impressive in today's NHL. How the Atlantic actually went. Tampa won the Presidents. Boston was third overall in the league, followed by Toronto, and that's where your playoff line ended. Montreal, Florida, Buffalo, Detroit, and Ottawa, who did finish dead last. Detroit finished 28th overall. Rounded out your last five. The 5 teams in the Atlantic that didn't make the playoffs. Again, the Atlantic has been a weak division ever since they decided to align it. And I don't think it's through any fault of their own. I mean, your top 3 are built winners. They've definitely built themselves that way this season and throughout the last couple of years. You know, Tampa's been working miracles, so they're definitely ready for this. No real surprises. I kind of figured Boston, Toronto were going to be the toss-up between 2-3. The fact that I gave Detroit the benefit of the doubt and they finished 4th last was kind of upsetting. I'm not surprised by Ottawa. They're admittedly rebuilding. They're admittedly tanking, and heads are going to roll pretty soon, I think. Metro went a bit like this. My predictions were Pittsburgh was going to win the division, followed by Washington, followed by New Jersey, followed by Philadelphia, who I thought was going to clinch the other wild card in the East, followed by the Rangers, followed by the Columbus Blue Jackets. 7th was going to be the Islanders, who I thought were going to finish 28th. And then rounding it out would have been Carolina, who I thought was going to finish 30th. The actual season went a bit like this. Washington won the division and were 4th overall, followed by the Islanders, followed by the Penguins. That's going to be such a great series. Oh my goodness. Carolina got the first wild card. Columbus got the second wild card. Philadelphia, the Rangers, and Jersey, who finished 29th, so 3rd last, are the 3 teams that didn't make the playoffs in that division. Now at the Metro, I'm not surprised. The Metro has been competitive for a very, very, very long time. And I mean, the fact that the 5 teams that made it are making it is not another surprise at all. I mean, Carolina is long overdue. They've been only missing the playoffs for the last 9 years. I mean, if you look at Edmonton, who has missed the playoffs now 12 years out of the last 13, you know, we can kind of sympathize for a team that hasn't made the playoffs in a long time as Edmontonians. I'm sure Oilers fans are hating it. Told you. Columbus kind of barely made it in by the skin of their teeth. After the deadline, after the deals they made, and after the brief period they went through afterwards, where they were losing and losing and losing, they gave up their draft pile. Essentially, they have 2 picks in the draft, not counting anything they make at the table. And yeah, they're definitely in all-in mode. Here's hoping they can make some noise. I mean, if there's ever an underdog, Columbus would be it. And I mean, it's probably the best way to keep Panarin and Goalie Bob in Columbus is to go all the way. If they don't, if it's anything short, I can't imagine either of them sticking around, especially for the long haul. The Islanders, I was convinced no Tavares, no luck, but I forgot they got Barry Trotz. That never hurts at all. Washington, I was a bit surprised, but not completely. I mean, it's pretty much the same team that won the Cup. And, of course, they were going to clinch the division again. Jersey, a bit. I mean, I didn't take into account that Taylor Hall was fragile and would have got hurt. But the Metro is a tight division, either way. Having said all that, let's go to the West. Starting the West off in the Central. My predictions went like this. Winnipeg, I thought, was winning the President's Trophy. Silly me, right? Followed by Nashville, Colorado. St. Louis, I thought, was catching a wild card. Chicago, Dallas, and Minnesota was going to fail terribly. Well, Minnesota didn't fail terribly, but I did get that one right. They did come in last. But the rest of the division I was terribly wrong on. But Nashville didn't clinch the division until today. Today still technically being the 6th. Followed by Winnipeg. Followed by St. Louis. Dallas clinched the first wild card. Colorado clinched the second. Then Chicago and Minnesota didn't make the cut. Ultimately, I'm not really surprised with the way the West turned out, the Central turned out. I am surprised by St. Louis. I mean, they were dead in the water as early as December. You know, everybody was counting them out. They weren't making the playoffs. They fired Mike Yao. They replaced him with Craig Berube. And off to the races they went. So, a little surprised by St. Louis. Nashville, Winnipeg, not really. I was more surprised it went last day before anybody even clinched the division. But again, I did think Winnipeg was going to clinch the President's Trophy, and they didn't. Dallas a little bit. Minnesota, not so much. I saw this one coming from a mile away. Probably a lot more clear than I saw Ottawa coming in last, but I digress. I think whatever happens in the offseason for Chicago determines where they go from here. I strongly think they're going to make a push for Panarin, but I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not going to claim to be, but if my prediction is true, I'm coming back here. Yeah, no, I'm not overly surprised by anything that went on the Central. I mean, it is the more competitive division in the West, and the fact that it was as unpredictable as it was kind of refreshing. You know, I mean, it's good to see there is strong teams out west as opposed to just out east. Following up, last but not least, with the Pacific Division, and my predictions went a bit like this. San Jose was going to clinch the division, followed by Edmonton, followed by Vegas. I gave Los Angeles the wild card. Calgary, Arizona, Anaheim, and Vancouver was going to finish 29th. But Calgary, Arizona, Anaheim, Vancouver weren't going to make the playoffs. Whereas in reality, they went a bit like this. Calgary was second overall. Clinched the West. Have home ice in the West. Followed by San Jose. Followed by Vegas. And there was a playoff cut. Arizona almost made it. I'm saying that again. Arizona almost made it. They were eliminated the last week of the season. So, very unpredictable as far as Arizona is concerned. I mean, I would have definitely thought improvement, absolutely, but not almost pushed into the playoffs. Vancouver was 5th, Anaheim was 6th, Edmonton was 7th, and LA finished 30th overall. It's the second worst. So I got one out of the division right, and that was Vegas. I don't know. Edmonton, I shouldn't have been completely surprised they finished second worst in the division. Not at all. I mean, they got 200-point scores. That very rarely happens anymore in today's modern NHL. You don't have 200-point scores on the same team. I mean, you've been lucky to have them, but they're named Crosby, Malkin. They're named Ovechkin, Backstrom. Now there's McDavid, Draisaitl, and hopefully that injury that McDavid took against Calgary isn't anything serious, like a broken leg that'll require 8 to 12 months of rehab. That could be bad, very, very bad. But I guess we'll know more when they announce more, right? Right. But the Pacific, I think, is the weaker of the two in the West. Always has been, always will be. But, I mean, they have produced LA as a cup winner. And they've produced a couple of cup contenders. So, I guess it really depends on the year with the Pacific. So, ultimately, what I learned from all this, me trying to pick divisions, I suck. Out of 31 spots, I got 2, 3, 4 right. That was Tampa, Ottawa, Minnesota, and Vegas. But I did almost predict McKinnon scoring 100 points. If only he would have scored one more. But, again, these are only predictions. You know, these don't necessarily have to go exactly how one would have wanted them to, but it would have been awesome if I would have got at least half of it right. But I want to thank you all for tuning in. Your viewership always means so much to me. Always has, always will. You can feel free to follow me on Facebook at Trev's TV. Find me on Instagram at rockstartrev TV. So, I've got my playoff predictions video. I've got the hockey pool video with Melissa. And I've got a couple more that I have on the go this month. I just can't think of them at the moment. So in the meantime, in between time, be on the lookout for more videos from Trev. Later.